On one of my videos a while back, I showed where they had a crew out here putting tires in. These are some of the new tires they're putting in. They don't look like they got creosote in them. I don't know what they're doing for them. There's one there. And then fixing this track up. There's joint bar, four hole joint bars. And that's an insulated one, so, well, no it isn't. It's got a ground bar on it, make sure it's got. So that means this track right here, if there was a car sitting on it, would show that track as being occupied. Old joint bars, 4 hole. And if you look at the new ones now, they got like 8 holes and 6 holers out there. Quite a few of them. Alright. 4 hole joint bar. Alright. That's the insulated joint bar. That means electricity on this one will not conduct through that to get onto this one. So if your train's sitting up here, it won't mess with the signal. Alright. What that track maintainer was doing is he had to take this yellow rail and he had to slide it over further that way. Maybe adjust the wedges in it and stuff like that. That's what he was down here doing, adjusting wedges in there to get that rail over, so when they close that rail into the main rail, it'll actually touch. Alright, and the reason they got to do that, this is called a split rail derail. If you don't close the points over to this rail to guide the train down the track, it's going to go off to the side and hit the ground over there. And stop your train from going out and fouling the main line. Alright. I'll get more. Anyway, so they only close this derail whenever they're pulling the train out of the yard. It usually stays open so nothing rolls out of the yard and gets out on the main line and it causes a wreck. Now over here to my right is like 100-foot deep ditch over there. Maybe 80 or 90, I don't know. But anyway, they got a story they tell me. I wasn't alive back in those days, so old timers would tell me the story about a young black man named Hoodlum Duck. And Hoodlum Duck used to sit down at the roundhouse, which is up that way, and watch the guys work on the locomotives. So he got to figuring he learned how to drive one, and he jumped up on it. I don't know if you can see over there, that's a big hole in the ground. Now, all this dirt out here has been added over the years. You can see where the end of the ballast is, and usually the hill will go straight down. But when he derailed that locomotive off that derail, it went down in that hole upside down. And they went down there and got him. He died though, but they got talking to him down there. Now, why'd you get the locomotive? Because I'm going to Florida to get some oranges. Well, none of these tracks here hit Florida, so he wouldn't have never made it. But that was Hoodlum Duck's story. Alright, thank y'all. Alright, right here is where one of the switches would have gone off to go over into the railroad yard. Over to track 2, 3, 4, and 5 and up to the roundhouse. Alright, thank you. Back in the old days, back to the turntable. Look at that joint bar there. Joint bar with a built-in tie plate. Those ties set directly on the wood there. So that one has a tie plate under it with a spike And they put the spikes here to keep this joint from moving. Alright, thank you. Alright, look at that tie plate there. 4-hole flat tie plate. Then you look at these over here. 8-hole tie plate. This is the modern stuff. That's the stuff from the early 1900s. Alright, thank you. They got more ties up here. They're going to come up here and do some more work on this track. They got a lot of ties that look like that don't look too good. If you look down through there, you can see the roughness of it. Alright, thank you. There's some 6-hole joint bars laying over there. They took them off when they welded that track over there. Welded that rail. They took the hole. Alright, thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying it. God bless y'all. I was trying to read the name and the date on the side of the rail. It says Tennessee is about the only thing I can make out about it. Alright. I know the railroad left Abbeville, made it to Atlanta 1897, I think it was. Might have been 1892. Got to Abbeville 1887. So I know the main lines have been replaced. That's all welded rail now. The siding, I don't know how long that rail's been here either. I mean, I lived down in Florida for 9 years, so they could have done something with that back then. But this all looks original to when I was a kid, so. So I don't know, they would have built this yard, because the first railroad yard was put down at the depot. All that big clearing out around the depot used to be a railroad yard until they built to Atlanta. And then when they built to Atlanta, they built this yard in the roundhouse and stuff. So everything leaving Atlanta and everything leaving Hamlet, North Carolina, Monroe, North Carolina, come to Abbeville, they have to service the locomotive and turn it around and send it back. Later on, when they got the Twin Pacifics and the Twin Mikados, the 4662s and the 2882s, they could go from Atlanta to Monroe or to Hamlet and not have to be touched. Not have to be stopped in Abbeville to get rebuilt and stuff. Alright, thank y'all. Alright, orange paint all the way down through there. That's showing what tires they want to be replaced. Alright, thank you. I found this on the side of the railroad track. As a piece of plastic or whatever, but that's the grease they used to rub on the rim. Alright, thank you. That was the grease they used on the locomotives. And that stick you see sitting out on the rear of the truck. And it points right down in here in the flange. And it'll lubricate that. Alright. We got 57 pounds on this thing. He dropped it from 80 down to 57. So that's probably about a, 44, 43 pound reduction. Alright, the piston's not out on this car. I wonder why. The brake should be applied. Alright. Alright, that's your triple valve. That's what controls the brakes. You see you got the main line right there, comes up to feed the air up to the triple valve. That's the main line there, main air line. So it's got the air hose on it and stuff. It goes all the way to the other end of the car to the other air hose. That supplies air to it. It goes here, and when he's pumping it up, it'll fill up both sides of that tank. You got emergency side and you got main reservoir side, and I don't know which, but they'll fill it up, both of them up with 80 pounds full. Alright, then when he does a brake reduction and drops some pounds on here, this will suck it will allow the air to flow out of the main reservoir side, and it applies it to that pipe, and see that pipe, which goes over and feeds the cylinder. Alright, and so when he pumps the air back up down there, then it recharges the tank up there. Okay, let me get over here. You hear that noise? Air flowing out of the engine causes the generator to generate the electricity for this. And there's a knuckle, y'all. There's the knuckle. That's the draw head. That's a lower shelf one. You see, they get more of those. That helps keep the cars locked together during a derailment. Easy roller, Q4. The quiet one. Says shh. And it's the world's most advanced railroad truck suspension system. So we got these new wheels, new bearings, push here, lift here, jack here. Fully loaded car, you see how the bolster's mashed down right there, you got that big gap in there. Brinco, Bristol, Indiana Corporation. Made in American foundry. Made with American steel, made by American money and men. Brinco side frame, component identification. Brinco bearings. Alright, what does this say up here? Truck type, Q4 quadra steer. Axle designation, K. Wheel type, H36, 36-inch wheels. Stabilizer type, supplemental snubber, not available. Side bearing preload, 6,000, I guess that's pound. Coupler SBE 60EE. Grouper pocket type J. Train line arrangement S424. Intermediate hose not available. Alright, now what that is, that's all the levers used in your brake, so you get the right pressure applied. Alright. That's your brake piston down there. Got a slack adjuster on there. Alright. It's bolted here to the frame. That's what that represents, that and that. So when this pushes on this, it pushes on that. That pushes this way. It's hooked, bolted to the frame. And it goes over to that rod, and that's inside the truck, and that sets your wheel brakes. Now you see it's 5 inches here and 10 inches there. That's the measurement from the center of that to the center of that. So if you make new bars for these, one of your bars breaks, you gotta know how long bar you gotta have. I don't know why this one and this one aren't on there. Alright, thank you. That's some new equipment there. It doesn't look like it's set up to be working, but usually this will ride on here, and the further up that is, the more air it takes from the tank and put on your piston. So you know, if you got a lighter car and that sinks down further down, then you're not going to put your brakes on as heavy on an empty car as you would a fully loaded one. So I guess this is so fully loaded that it sprung it all the way up. I don't know. Alright, that little square hole is where you put your handle to crank that, slide it back up, and you could probably use something like a big motor to screw it open, or use a handle or something. Alright. And that will start dumping stuff on the ground. I'm not seeing any leakage, so I don't know what they put in these cars. This is a 3-bay covered hopper, so whatever it is, it's kind of heavy. ATTX load limit 222,900 pounds. Lightweight, or the empty weight of the car, is 63,100, and the cubic feet is 5,808. And somebody's been beating on the side of the car trying to get it to empty out, I guess. National Steel Car, Hamilton, made in Canada. Builders of Reliable Rail Transportation, 1912. Alright, here's the other end of your brake rod. That goes down to the trucks. Got a little catch container there, I guess. Keep the air from. Maybe that soaks up the shock of the air if you add the air too quick and stuff. Alright. So there's a pipe that goes from the triple valve and goes down to that valve. And then it supplies it up to this one, which is just a storage tank. And it supplies air that goes to the brakes, I guess. No, it don't go to the brakes. That supplies air to something else. I don't know. See if I can get in there and see it. There it goes. It does go to the tank. A quadra-steer truck. There's no one of them things in the stored position, it looks like. If it's got enough air on it, it releases fully, I guess. Or maybe it releases when it gets up. I don't know. Maybe somebody can talk to me more about it on my videos. Anybody know out there knows the information on that? Hold on, I gotta get the ants out of my shoes. Cameras want to act up. Alright, look. You got two lower shelf couplers, one on a flat car and one on a container car. And that means that neither coupler can rise up out of the pockets over there. National Swing Motion trucks. 68-inch wheels. Or maybe that's the 68 inches from axle to axle. $7.95, that's probably when the car was made. Says inspection lube, TTX something, and 04-2023. Alright, that's your fifth wheel plate when you're putting trailers down here. That's your spring information. Alright, maybe you can stop this and read it. I know I gotta go home and read it. I can't read it right now. Alright, thank you. And that would have been there's information on that, but you can't see. Hard to read. Load limit 79,100 pounds, all units. That means no matter what, all units on here, that's the maximum load for this. Alright. Danger, keep your shoes out of there when you let that down. No 20-footers on here, it says. Location 2, so there's probably more than one air reservoir on here. Self-locking container pedals to operate instruction. In, push pedals to in, it will self-lock. Out, lift locking pin, pull, depress out, please, release pin. Pedals to application. No 20-footers. Actuator length and operating instruction. 50 psi cylinder or 20 psi reduction. I don't know what an actuator is. Alright. That's your actuator. That's what runs your brakes on this car. You got piston over there to push out on the brake beam. There's a cylinder over there. Alright. And this is where the two cars join together right there. So you got a round joint down there for swivel, and you got a round joint right here with a pin in it for up and down. So if you go up and down hills and around corners, that's how the car would do that. Twin 28-foot. Pick cop. Alright, here's your triple valve on this one. That's what activates the brakes for this one. This might be where this is going, I don't know. Home shop for repair. Alright, this truck just carries one end of the car. You got a normal knuckle couple there. If you look, it's got the lower shelves on it. Air hoses are hooked up. Brakes are knocked off. Oh, my phone's too full, so I'm gonna do what I can. They have this on the deck here. If you see all the holes in it, I assume this car is going to be either scrapped or repaired. I don't know what. Alright, thank you. See if y'all can blow this one up and read it on your computer or whatever. That in and that in. Alright, thank you.